And I think today's topic is very close to my heart because I've been, strangely, I became a juror much before I became a award winner. Probably because in my career, around that time, there were not many people known from India. So I became a juror for Cannes in 2008 when they had, for the first time, they included design as a um, category. I was juror at Dutch Design Awards 3 years consecutively. I was at Design Turkey, then I observed few awards in China very closely, good design in Japan, along with the India Design Council. Landed up working on IMARC for India Design Council, and then I was associated with the IF, so I've been very closely monitoring and checking how those juries work. So jury is something which I found that thing very fascinating. There are competitive design awards and there are non-competitive design awards, and there are design awards which are competitive in a certain category and they become non-competitive later. And what I mean is, there are awards which give you one objective and decides how that objective is met, right? And then there are awards which judge what you have done. So I'm taking an example of IBDA, but I guess it applies to a lot of design awards because no two design projects are same. Student or professional, no two design studios are same. So it's highly impossible to have a competitive design awards. When somebody says so and so is number one, I don't know what that means, because every design project is unique, right? Everybody's way of doing a project is unique. And then there are very few parameters based on which you can judge. You can judge the output, you can judge the process, you can judge the impact of that output on environment, so many things. The India's Best Design Awards, which is mostly for the professional category, are non-competitive in nature. So every project is judged on its own merit. It doesn't matter if you design a motorcycle or you design a railway system or a railway station or a letterhead or a visiting card or a logo. Everything is judged on its own merit. So what jury has to do is take it on its face value, saying what the brief is, how well the brief has been, what is the process adopted to meet a brief, and how well the result has come. And it's not competitive, it's not compared to, but so and so did that. No, this is not that. If you match up and the jury thinks that this is good enough, you get the award. It's as simple as that. That's non-competitive. It's almost like a standards award. It's setting standards, right? It's setting the bar. It's almost like getting a ISI thappa. For us, there are juries which come from different categories of professions. So one, of course, is design practitioners, okay? People who've been in their job for a long time. So they have experience. They may not be from a certain domain of design, but they have done, they know the professional rigor. You know what it means to get a brief, what it means to meet up deadlines, what it means to, within that deadline, within that money, within that constraints, to deliver an outstanding project. Okay, so they've been through that. So professionals. Second we have is the faculty. People who have, the design teachers who over the years have gone through this again and again. Most of them also practice. So that's the nice thing about design faculty. They practice and they teach the process and they are taking care of the outcome. So I guess faculty or the teachers have more rigor towards the process. Okay, they are more careful about the academic relevance of the project. Is it for the first time? Does it make sense anywhere? What is the impact? What will others learn from it? So many things they think in their head. We have third category, which is actually non-designers. They are mostly professionals from different fields. They could be doctors, so we do have a doctor. They could be engineers, they are engineers, or they are MBAs or professionals. Most of them, again, very, very experienced. And the reason for that is that design needs to be relevant to people who are not technically designers by themselves, okay? But these are people who have done things in their life. I look for, or my team decides a jury based on the decisiveness of the jury. If that jury person or the person we're looking at for jury has been taking decisions in their life. So I think it's very important to have that clarity of decision, which when you're a student or when you're struggling or when you're new, you have a lot of confusion. In the sense, if I show you something, is it good or bad? There are very few people who will come up and say this is good or this is bad, right? Most of us, many of the people will say, oh, if it was longer, it was this, if it was short. No, decisiveness. So what we look for amongst the third category of people are decisiveness, people who've taken business decisions to reach somewhere. What I'm leading at is clarity of thought. How clear are they in their thinking, whether, and being very judgmental in that sense, that you can say this is good, this is bad, right? Very important. When you become a professional, the decision making becomes almost a intuitional process for you. It's intuition for you. You look at something and say, ye mere ko nahi chahiye, ye mere ko chahiye. You know, that, though when you say that, you're making a choice, you have a lot of things playing in your head. I've never seen this before, I've seen this before, I love this color, I don't love this color. It's a great impact on society, great impact on environment. Of course, there's a whole sheet which goes saying newness, rigor of the process, and how well the brief was met and gone beyond, and this whole thing for the jury to follow. But I give value to the gut. So I always say to the jury, and because the jury is not a normal jury, it's a very, very professional jury, trust your gut. So you decide whether you get the award, you want to give the award or not. In most of the awards, the decision is not made by one person. It's made by a odd number of teams. So like, for example, in our awards, it's 5 people deciding one project. So not all, if you have, say, 25 people on the jury, they're not going to see all 25 projects. We take care that if the jury member has a related company or a related entrant, that work doesn't go to the jury member. It goes to another set of jury. So those jury people, so those 5 people take a call whether I want to give the award or I don't give the award. Each of them does that individually, right? So chances are that most of the time, I think we get unanimous results. Almost 80% it's yes or no. It's very rarely that we have a division of one, yes or no. Wherever there's a doubt, we always review and it goes back to another set of jury, and we check it out whether the jury has done a good job or not. There is something called relevance of design awards. Do you need design awards or you don't need design awards? Should I enter, should I not enter? I think that question is fairly simple. I believe that awards are a validation. It's also a marketing tool for us, for designers, because design field is very cluttered now. How do you stand out and give that trust to your customer or the client or the organization who wants to work with you, that you are good? So I think there it matters that you are able to stand up and say, listen, I've got 5 awards last year, I've got 3 awards this year. It sort of gives a assurance to people who want to make a decision in your favor. One is the articulation. What I've noticed is that what we write next to is very bad in most of the entries. It's written as an afterthought. It's written at the last minute, and people don't give much attention to it. But I believe me that that's the first thing which jury reads. What are you writing? So most of the people land up giving a marketing spiel in that about themselves. We are a team like this. We are not really. What I think you need to do is articulate what was the objective, what was the project, why this project was important, how this project was handled, a little bit about the process, what was the result and how it was received. Lot of people are influenced by advertising agencies and they go straight away to saying, oh, so many million people got impacted by our project. But actually that data doesn't impress the jury really, because you can see what is there, right? So first thing is the articulation has to be very, very clear and precise, concise, not like poetry, or not, it's not a novel written, right? It has to be very precise. Second is, I think the process needs to be demonstrated somehow. If there's a process, show the process. I've also seen there's a trend of people just going to the final outcome and say, this is the final outcome. You know, packaging, one side, second side, third side, fourth side, packaging. Actually, just one picture will be enough for that, right? And if there is a visual which sort of justifies your articulation on the side, just put that. What jury is definitely interested in is seeing the alternatives. If you thought, you know, what was the alternatives? Many times people come back and say, oh, such a lovely project, so badly executed. You know, such a lovely project, not presented very nicely. In fact, many of the projects which we'll end up awarding, I feel like if they were presented nicely, and much of that work is actually the best work you can find in the world. You know, not just India's Best Design Awards, I think we should start something, world's Best Design Awards, you know. We should do that, because a lot of work is fantastic, but not presented in a befitting manner. Also, I think people get ready on the last minute. You know, it's always afterthought that, oh, we should enter this for awards. For that, I would suggest that as and when you finish a project, consider yourself that you're going to enter this in awards. Even if you don't, create articulations, write notes about this, put those pictures together, get things together as if you are entering an award. Be prepared to enter an award even if you don't enter an award, because that will help you in building a portfolio for yourself. That will help you sending it to press if you need to send, or to enter awards. So it should not be a last minute effort, though it lands up being a last minute effort. Another thing, I feel a lot of times the larger design companies, they don't have senior people entering awards. Though the quality of work is very good, is the junior people or the marketing people who land up preparing the layouts and kya jana chahiye, kahan jana chahiye. The senior people are not looking into that. It's like, oh, we've done good work, enough. You know, we don't. I think the senior most people should actually take interest in terms of what they're entering and how they're entering. Very, very important. I think this is where the number of jury works, right? Everybody has their own preferences of, I mean, the very reason that everybody has their own definition of design, right? So there will be one member who will be biased towards function. How well is this working? There will be somebody who will look at this completely in terms of typography and layouts and colors and the craft of execution, right? Somebody might just come up also on the presentation कि ये ऐसे थोड़ी present करते हैं, वो भी होता है. Somebody might emphasize on the articulation of that. Some people look at the impact, okay? But if you look at the awards which different say festivals or awards give, I think what you should do is look at the jury carefully. Jury's name is not there just to tell you that so and so is jury. Look into their work. You will know the kind of work they do. I think it's always good to study the jury a little bit. Look, even though you might be entering an award before the jury is announced, but you can always go to the last year's award and check who was the jury, and check into their writings, their work, their philosophy, their LinkedIn profile, their Instagram page. You will get a lot of cues of this jury is looking like that. But then, of course, I mean, it's a time investment. It's a lot of time investment on. But I believe that is the learning. That is the learning for you into this, right? Like I said, I go with, you know, I have an ability of not judging. So I can go through a whole thing with my mind saying, I'm not judging right now. So I go through the whole thing. And then I switch it on and say, judge. And it says, yes, no. that's a gut feel, right? But that is after considering everything. So I guess at that level, something is there in your mind which will click. Oh, beautiful work, should get an award, or very relevant work should get an award, or what a process, should get an award. So I don't think there is one parameter. There is, it's combination of parameters always which go like that. So design studios have to given multiple projects. They are, I guess, what jury is looking for there is the consistency of the delivery. It's not the project. It is not one project or two projects. It's a number of projects which are judged. There is a requirement of sending in the ITR also, income tax returns, to see that the studios are profitable. That it's if somebody sees that, oh, if this is India's best design studio and I want to work with it, it should be a surviving studio, right? So being professional, having good ethics, having good presentation, and consistently doing good number of projects in good quality delivery, I guess that's what the judgment criteria is. Also the kind of clientele a studio has. If a studio has only one major client and the other clients are really not relevant, I guess jury does take that into consideration also. It's variety of work, it's consistency of following a process on all those projects. That's what they look at. Okay, thank you so much and all the best. See you next week.